Hey, you guys, welcome back to the More Life Pod. And it's your girl, Jazzie, and we back. You know, we had to take a little break. Had to get my mind right, my mental right. I was lacking balance in my life when it came to my podcast work and, you know, just living. So, yeah, I had to take a little break, center myself, find balance, and yeah, we back. So this episode is called The Freedom of Forgiveness. It was inspired by my friends Shania and Zion. Zion was the last guest I had on episode 4, which was mental health in the creative field. So yeah, he had to read me my rights. Y'all, we was talking, and I don't even know how we got deep into this conversation. We was talking about a man, and my friend, he was just like, you know, you so angry. And I'm just like, you know, I am angry. And I'm not going to sit up here and lie. Like, I know I'm angry. And that's something that I'm working and dealing with each and every day when it comes to certain people in certain situations. So thanks for inspiring me for this episode. So I want to give y'all the definition of forgiveness. Y'all know I'm the word lady. I used to be, you know, putting different words on my Instagram and, you know, helping, you know, the community's vocabulary. Yes. Clap it up. Clock that. Yes. Alrighty. So the definition of forgiveness is the conscious decision to let go of resentment and anger towards someone who has wronged you without necessarily excusing their actions or seeking reconciliation. Meaning that you can forgive somebody without inviting them back into your life. I'm a strong believer in I can forgive you and you ain't got to be nowhere over here. I promise you that. We could be family. We could have been friends. You could have been an ex-lover, but you will not come back over here. I promise you that. So, yeah, let's get into it. So I want to talk about forgiveness and people still feeling like, you know, they can have access to you in your life. Lately, I had a situation, I had got into it with a family member, and, you know, they said a lot of hurtful things to me and whatnot, and it just made me look at them totally different, and I just didn't want anything to do with them as far as like being near them, following them on the social media, hearing about them. I'm done. I'm finito. You're done. Dunto. And I can forgive you for all the terrible things that you said to me, but you won't be back over here. And I have found that person trying to follow me and on Instagram or, you know, view me from other social medias, and you're gonna get blocked every time. Get blocked every time. I feel like people never really apologize. They feel like they could just, you know, come back like, oh, that was nothing, or, you know, it wasn't that bad. You're not me and you can't tell me how to feel. And not only can you not tell me how to feel, I don't have to invite you back into my life. And that's a boundary that I feel like a lot of people don't set. Like I said, whether it's your family, or ex-lover, or whoever, like, you need to set boundaries to protect yourself at the end of the day. So don't be out here letting people get all over on you and, you know, not having boundaries. Do what you need to do for you and let that be that. Sometimes, you know, people can apologize, and sometimes their apology isn't for you necessarily. It's because they feel guilty because how they treated you. And that's more so an ego thing. And you have to be very discerning about which one that is. So don't get bamboozled by the folks. You better pray before you make any decision. Because I do. And I be like, God, why they do this to me? Or, you know, how should I move with this person or that person? But I just feel like, me personally, I've had too many things happen to me for anybody to feel like you could just come back into my life and shit's going to be okay. Shit is not okay. Shit is not okay. But I also feel like access is a privilege as well. And a lot of people don't understand that until they are on the other side. And I say that all the time on TikTok, on Instagram. Like, I'm so adamant about that because I'm a very passionate person. I'm a very caring person. You know, I am outspoken, but within good means, within good means. And I just feel like I don't go out of my way to harm people, to, be disrespectful or belittle anybody. And I never made anybody feel less than. And if I have, I done checked myself. But other people, they don't do that. So, like I'm saying, I said it about 3 times. Don't let them people get over on you. I want to go back to the you don't need an apology to move on. Because you don't. Like I said, some people feel like an apology helps their ego. But not only that, you will be held hostage with these emotions, these interactions, and, these, I guess, negative connotations. So, yeah. And I'm going to get into, a time where it took me a long time to forgive somebody. I have spoke about this, I think maybe on the first episode of this season, how I had a ex-boyfriend who hit me with my car, and now I have like battle wounds and things and scars and whatnot. And it took me a long time to forgive them because not only am I looking at myself in the mirror and I look different and I don't like what I see, but also like the intent behind it was very evil. And you meant to do what you did, but then after you did it, you feel guilty. And then sometimes, like I said, you won't get an apology. They might say, oh, look at what you made me do. Like, how the hell? What the helly? That would never make sense to me. And I just used to be so angry because nobody knew that I was, in a domestic relationship, but nor was I telling people either. I felt like that was very embarrassing for me to even like go through, deal with, talk about all of that. So not only did I have, resentment towards him, but resentment towards my family members and friends and whatnot. Sometimes, like I said before, we play a role in our own suffering. I feel like, if I would have spoke up, things probably would have been different, but I didn't. Everything's like a trial and error in life. So this is very trial and error of my life. But yeah, I just used to be so angry. I didn't want to date. I didn't want to go anywhere. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't even want to go back to school. Like I've stated previously throughout the season, like I want to go back to school, but it just destroyed my confidence when I thought about school. So I actually seen that person earlier this year on Valentine's Day, and I think that's a crazy day to see somebody. This is Love Day, and you spilled nothing but hatred towards me. So I thought that was wild. I seen you on that day. It was insane. But when I seen that person, I always was gonna say like, ooh, I would have did this or I would have did that. I didn't do none of that. Like, I have truly forgiven that person for what they have done, even if I didn't accept it. Well, even if I didn't get an apology. So, sometimes you gotta move on. And it may take a long time because I don't think forgiveness is an overnight thing either. It takes time, whether it's months, weeks, years, but don't let it be a lifetime. Forgiveness is hard. There are multiple stages of forgiveness. You have disappointment, there's anger, there's always thinking that, you're not enough or that maybe you could have did something different. And I think a lot of times we put our focus on these different things, and it's just like you have to come back to yourself and realize that should not have happened to you, and that's not on you. And who you are as a person does not reflect how that person has treated you. So yeah, I do feel like forgiveness shackles you, if you want to say, but you have to release yourself from the shackles. Another instance of where, no, this is something I'm still working with. I'm not gonna say I've fully forgiven, but just like abandonment, I guess, like from my parents, which is something that I am still working with, and I feel like it reflects in like my relationships. I need people that are dependable, reliable, and if you are not, you have to go. And I was talking to this young man maybe like the past couple of weeks, and we were supposed to, you know, go out or whatever, and we never went out. So I was like, okay, whatever, that's cool, but don't think you got another opportunity to do it again, so you're done for Nito, all of that. And I had seen him recently, and he was just like, wow, so like I'm in the doghouse. I said, you know, you're more than in the doghouse. You know, you're outside. You know, you're with the grass and the storm and the rain. You can't come back over here. And that's just a boundary that I put up, because you have one time to disappoint me. I'm not going for any more times. You know, that's over. And, you know, he was like, you know, maybe you'll spin the block. Not at all. I won't spin shit. You know, but it's okay. But like, he thought I was playing, because even before that happened, I told you, like, I'm not one of those people that give second chances like that, and I truly feel like you have to deserve it. Do I feel like he deserved it? No. You had one opportunity, and that's your first time, and you fucked up. And it's different, you know, if you were doing good and we was going solid, and then it was like, oh, well, I could overlook this, or, you know, we can move forward. But it was not that, so we cannot move anywhere. So yeah, you have a nice day, Mr. Sir. Yeah, you know, they tell me, you know, I'm real hard on these folks, but you know, I think that's just clearing the line for that one. So that's all, that's it, that's all. But I want to go back to, you know, apologies. I feel like sometimes we need to apologize to ourselves, because sometimes we put ourselves in situations and, you know, you didn't deserve that. So sometimes I'll be like, you know, Jazzie, I'm sorry that, you know, you went through that. Or, you know, I'm sorry that you didn't get an apology. Or I'm sorry, you know, that you are sad because of this, or distraught, or whatever the case may be. You owe yourself an apology just as much as you feel like somebody else owes you an apology. Take care of yourself. And not only just take care of yourself, but be intentional with yourself. And I think that's something that I'm learning more about in my life. Whether it's, you know, being intentional with my relationship with God, my relationship with my friends, my relationship with myself. And I think lately I've been really trying to pour into myself and God versus all of these worldly things. So it is hard. And it is not an overnight process. So I hope you protect your peace and you learn how to forgive others without, you know, resentment. Because you can say that you forgive somebody, but you still holding on to things. If you are in a relationship or you're trying to move forward, you cannot do that. You have to let that shit go. Let that shit go, like RC said in meditation. You gotta let that shit go. If you need to meditate, you know, talk to the Lord, or if you need to stop dealing with them people, like I said, altogether. That's what you gotta do for yourself. You don't have to please the next person. Please yourself. Please God. You don't have to be nasty, because I feel like, you know, people feel like, oh, you did this to me, so I'm gonna act this way towards you. Look here. You're only bringing yourself more karmic debt, so please don't do that. Please do not. Like, keep being a good person. Keep being yourself. You don't have to go out of your way to be nasty to somebody. Protect your peace. And everybody don't deserve access. So, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And yeah, catch us, you know, the More Life Pod. We're going to be at Essence Fest, you know. Come get an interview with your girl. You know, we finna put that shit on. And yeah, you know, any brands want to reach out, you know, collab. I'm really particular about the collaborations nowadays. If you want to collab, be serious, have your stuff together, and have a great attitude. So, am I missing anything? No. Be on the lookout for some content. You have a nice day, and I hope you got more life out of this episode. So, see y'all later. Bye.